Shaycells, we're here at the UFC 301 full card breakdown for maximum profit. We're currently 1-1 for parlays on the year. You know, UFC 300, that was a bitter, bitter pill to swallow. You got Jalen Turner, who started operating at 5,000 ping as soon as he dropped Moicano. And he really needs to give his purple belt back and exchange it for a 3-stripe white belt because he didn't know how to hip escape from quarter mount back to half guard. An absolute disgrace of a performance. But you know what? It's okay. It's okay. We move forward. The last few days, I've been locked away on an Adderall-fueled bender to watch all the fights I possibly can from UFC 301 and make the best educated guess I can for a parlay so we can bet a little bit and win really big. So here we go. So starting off on the very first fight on the card, we got Alessandro Costa versus Kevin Borjas. Now, Costa actually gave Steve Erceg a decent run for his money. He's compact, bulky, very strong in the grappling, a lot of power, and very good in the pocket. But Borjas is a very good striker himself, really fast 1-2s, a good jab. He has shown in the past to get uncomfortable when his opponent really closes the distance on him, which is Costa's entire game. So I am leaning towards Costa to win, but this is a very, very close fight. Borjas is a very good counter striker. He's going to be trying to catch Costa coming in. So this is a really close one to call. I probably won't be adding it to the parlay. It's just an unnecessary risk. But if I had to, I'm going Costa. And now, Ismael Bonfim versus Vink Pichel. All I gotta say on this one is, if Bonfim loses, it will be the biggest upset in UFC history. Maybe an exaggeration, but as far as locks go, you got to go with Bonfim. He's just going to be way faster, a way better counter striker. He can mix it up a lot better. He's way younger. Bonfim, easy pick for the parlay. Mauricio Rufyy versus Jamie Mullarkey. This one, I think, is pretty simple. Mullarkey is a very solid fighter, and his striking, it is not bad at all. But something he is criticized for is his chin. When he gets hit, it just does not seem to hold up. And a lot of people attribute that to him just having a weak chin. And you know, look, I wouldn't say he has a strong chin by any means, but he was able to eat a lot of clean shots from Jalen Turner before he eventually got TKO'd. So I don't think he has a chin made out of glass. It's just that he gets caught still sometimes. No matter how well he's moving, how well he's sticking behind his jab, he's going to get caught standing still, eating the full brunt of a shot, and it just shuts him off. But the guy he's fighting, Mauricio Rufyy, this is his debut in the UFC, coming off the Contender Series. So we've never seen him fight UFC level competition. But from what I have seen, he's very patient, he's a good counter striker, very accurate, really good kicks. And he's just really good at seeing shots coming, rolling with them, slipping head kicks. And on top of all that, very well-rounded grappler, good takedown defense. So if the fact that he has never fought in the UFC before is a bit too much risk for you, I get it. But from what I've seen, I think this is a really bad matchup for Mullarkey. So Mauricio Rufyy will be on my parlay. And now, Joaquim Silva versus Drakkar Klose. And this is another simple one, I think. Silva hits very, very hard, which does make it a little scary to bet on, but Silva, as far as his striking goes, he's a bit on the slower side, and he sits back a lot. He really waits to try to land that one big shot, to the point that a 41-year-old Clay Guida was giving him problems just with speed and activity. While Drakkar isn't the most defensively sound, he's a very good striker himself. He's got good timing and counters, and he'll stay a lot busier than Silva will, and he'll be going on my parlay. And now, Gene Silva versus William Gomis, this one might be the toughest fight to call. I mean, both are very new to the UFC, especially Silva. Gomis, very tall and long for featherweight, very dark, which has nothing to do with his fighting ability, but I'm just giving you a description of the guy. He fights from southpaw. He uses a lot of movement to stay on the outside, throws a lot of back kicks, and he always tries to time a left hand right down the middle. He's very fast and throws very good kicks, but he's not known for finishing people very frequently. But the guy he's fighting, Gene Silva, is known for finishing people. I mean, and very quickly too, either first or second round. He's a lot shorter, more compact, but if he gets into the pocket with you, you're in trouble. Now, he's only had one UFC fight, but it was against a guy who's also a southpaw, a bit taller than Gomis, and kind of utilizes a very similar style. And Silva had no problem closing the distance, cracking him, and finishing him. The only kinda sorta difference, though, is that this guy sucks. I'm just being honest. His movement sucked. He's kinda slow. He is not nearly as good at using his reach as he should be. But at the same time, though, Gene Silva showed to be very, very good. This one is just so difficult to call because clearly both of these guys are very good and they have some very good attributes. They're just both so green in their careers. So this one, it is not going on the parlay. Not a shot. God, and this next one right here, it is a travesty that this fight is happening for both of these guys at this point in their career, at this low on the card. We got Elves Brener versus the prehistoric predator himself, Mike Tabek Oralba. Elves Brener, he fights out of the same camp as Charles Oliveira, shoot the box, and he fights just like him. He's going to march right at you, flying knees, flying elbows. He has power and really good jiu-jitsu. But here's what sucks. He's only had 3 fights in the UFC. And Miktabek, this is going to be his second fight in the UFC. So it just sucks to have 2 such young, promising fighters going against each other so early in their careers. But I do think Miktabek is probably going to win. I mean, for one, clearly he just got thawed out of the fucking permafrost. And 2, he's a very good wrestler with good top control. He does a great job of smothering you, waiting for you to turtle so he can sink the neck crank in. Brener is going to be the more dangerous striker, but Miktabek is going to be the cleaner striker, I would say, more sticking to the fundamentals. Both of these guys are very good, and like I said, very promising. I'm leaning towards Miktabek to win, but this one would be way easier to call if they were just further into their careers. So it's a risky one, but Miktabek might be on my parlay. Jack Shore versus Joanderson Brito. This one I feel very, very strongly for Brito. Both of these guys are good strikers, and they're both very grappling heavy. But this is Jack Shore's second fight at 145. He's moving up from bantamweight. The guy he fought at his featherweight debut was a very good wrestler, and he just seemed to be bigger and stronger in the grappling exchanges. Now, he gassed out very quickly, and Jack was able to take over. But Joanderson Brito, Jesus Christ, this guy ragdolls people in the clinch. And we're talking real 45ers. And he goes at you so hard, winging every single shot to end the fight, shooting takedowns as hard as he can, blasting you with ground and pound, to the point that you would think he'd gas out within the first couple minutes. But he can keep that pace going longer than it seems like he should be able to. It's usually not till around the end of the second round he really starts slowing down. But even then, he kind of just coasts. And, I think a big part of it is just taking those little bits of rest after huge explosions. Like, he will shoot a power takedown on you, pick you up, slam you, just take a couple moments to catch his breath, and then he just pours it back on. And he definitely has the submission advantage. I mean, the key to beating a guy like this is just to simply shut down their attempts, make them spend more energy than you are. The problem is, when someone like that is going at you so hard, it can be very difficult to do. The first 2 rounds of this fight, Jack has a serious storm coming his way. One that guys who are bigger than him and also very skilled couldn't deal with. And it's going to aid in the cardio of Brito to not need to overexert to get to certain positions. I think if Jack can survive, he's got a good shot of finishing him in the third, but that's easier said than done. To Brito's credit, like I said, he does not melt. I mean, once he gets tired, he just coasts and is still very dangerous with the striking. His power does not go away. So Brito is on my parlay. And now, Caio Borrolho versus Paul Craig. This one, easy. You have to go with Borrolho. Again, what makes this one scary is that Paul Craig is so high level with submissions. It gives you the exact same advantage as having a huge right hand. No matter what's going on in the fight, all you need is one opportunity to land that punch to finish your opponent. Same thing with submissions. You just need that one opening, and boom, you're taking a limb home. But we gotta be honest here. Paul Craig's jiu-jitsu, it's pretty old school. If you look at professional jiu-jitsu today, none of these guys are specializing in full guard. They're just not. It's all wrestling and Z-guard. And in MMA especially, if your opponent just does not want to engage with you in the grappling at all, good luck getting them to come into your guard. And on top of that, positionally, I just don't think Paul Craig is that good. Brendan Allen was getting to half guard, getting chest to chest and smashing him, which is just not what you want if you're going to fight off your back. You gotta throw a knee shield in there like Gilbert Burns was doing against Hamzat. But like I said, Craig just has a real old school style of jiu-jitsu. His triangles are amazing. But off of his back, that's all he's got. And it has caught some very, very good fighters off guard. But people are very aware of it now. And Caio trains under Demian Maia. He's a very good grappler, very good positionally. And he's going to be the way better, way faster striker. He stands very bladed, using a kind of karate stance, and he does a lot of blitzes. Paul Craig does have a very sneaky high kick he needs to watch out for. But other than that, I think this fight is a lock. As long as he only engages the grappling on his terms. Which, why wouldn't he do that? So Caio Borrolho is on my parlay. Michel Pereira versus Ior Potieira. Now, Ior is a very solid fighter, but he tends to overextend on right hands a lot, which leads to him getting countered, and he's not the best at seeing punches coming, especially ones that aren't set up the best. Honestly, this is just another simple one. Pereira is going to be faster, stronger, way more explosive. He uses feints very well, which paired with his speed makes him very difficult to deal with on the feet. As long as he does not revert back to his old ways of sprinting around the octagon, jumping off the cage, and backflipping, this should be a very, 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 and I mean very easy pick. And Michel will 100% be going on to my parlay. And now Anthony Smith versus Vitor Petrino. Now, look, Anthony Smith, for as much of a schizophrenic as he can be sometimes, you gotta respect him for taking this fight. Because Vitor is only 26 years old, he's undefeated, and he is so jacked. This guy is huge. He's listed as 6'2". He is not 6'2". Let me tell you that right now. This guy he's fighting is listed at 6'3", so something clearly is wrong. He is a very, very good grappler, super strong on the ground. He has a serious amount of power, really good high kicks, and Anthony Smith, the guy gets a lot of hate. He is pretty good. He is a very, very good fighter. His issue is he's a bit bigger than he is powerful. And what I mean by that is, he himself is a very big 205er. But he just does not have that one-punch knockout power a lot of these guys have. And because he's so big, he doesn't move very well, which leads to him getting caught standing still. And when you're fighting big power punchers at 205, that's how you're really going to get hurt. Anthony's jiu-jitsu is definitely the best part of his game. He's very good with submissions, but just good luck imposing your will in the grappling against this guy. He's going to be way more athletic, way stronger, more explosive. All that with a really fast jab. He stays very defensively sound behind his punches, great kicks. I don't think he should be quite a minus 500 favorite, but he's on my parlay, without a doubt. And now, moving on to the co-main event, we have Jose Aldo versus Jonathan Martinez. Martinez's calf kicks are brutal. He stands southpaw, and he will just go shin to shin with you, Jan Blachowicz style, and it's a serious problem. He destroyed Adrian Yanez's leg after 2 kicks. He fights with a bit of a Muay Thai style. Whenever his opponent moves in with punches, he always covers up, which does sometimes leave him vulnerable to get hit. His boxing defense isn't the best, and neither is his boxing. But he's very, very good in the clinch, and he throws a lot of kicks, and he throws them very well, all paired with super good cardio. With that all being said, I am shocked he is the favorite against Jose Aldo. I cannot believe it. Well, it is true this is Aldo's first fight in a few years. He's 37 now. He's got a lot of things going for him in this matchup. For one, the best leg kick defense in the UFC. A lot of people just try to check the calf kick, and the problem with that is, even if you check it perfectly, which can be difficult to do, your opponent is still landing on the muscle of the calf, and no matter what. But Jose Aldo is so good at knee pointing, which is undisputed the best calf kick defense. Pedro Munoz's entire game plan was to land calf kicks on Aldo, and he failed miserably at it. And the other big variable here for Aldo is that while he has moved away from the leg kicks later on in his career, he always leaned very heavily into his boxing. And the last time we saw him compete was exactly a year ago in boxing against Jeremy Stephens, where his cardio still held up, he looked very fast. He was clearly a lot smaller than Stephens was, as he is now accustomed to fighting at bantamweight, but he looked very good. So if Aldo goes out there in his Muay Thai stance, which he used in his very last UFC fight against Merab, he's going to be ready to deal with the calf kicks. He's going to have a very high guard for the head kicks. And he should be far, far, far better than Martinez is at using his boxing. So I think he is an absolute steal as the underdog right now. And he will be going on my parlay. And now we've finally gotten to the main event. Steve Erceg versus Alexandre Pantoja. Pantoja's entire game plan is to march at you, absorb damage, clinch up with you, take you down, take your back, and rear naked choke you. That will always be his style no matter who he's fighting. And he is a very big flyweight, so he's very good at absorbing damage, and he's very strong in the clinch, and super, super high level at taking your back. This fight, very, very similar to Dustin Poirier versus Benoit Saint-Denis, in the singular sense that Benoit jumped the line, and we hadn't really seen him tested against the best of the division. Steve Erceg is in that exact same spot. He's only had 3 fights in the UFC, and he is currently ranked number 10. Now, in those 3 fights, without a doubt, the best attribute he's shown to have is his boxing. He doesn't have a ton of power, he doesn't have a ton of speed, but he's very technical and very, very accurate, and he lands right on your chin. Now, in my full breakdown for this fight, a lot of people were making the point that his best attribute is his grappling. Before he got to the UFC, that's what he primarily used. And as we stand right now, that has yet to be seen. He has certainly made attempts to take some of his fights in the UFC to the ground, hasn't really worked. He's ended up in very dominant positions through scrambles on the ground and wasn't really able to do much with it. But his boxing has been shown to be very, very high level. I don't think anybody at 125 can strike with this guy on the outside. He's very, very tall and long and just so technical. But what we have seen in the past is when you blitz, when you get into the pocket, Steve has a tendency to stay there, and he gets hit sometimes. Now, he has a very, very strong chin, but Pantoja, being such a big flyweight, he hits very, very hard. And he is not going to stop trying to march him down, winging shots, and trying to clinch. Steve's game plan should be pretty clear. Try to land a straight right as Pantoja's marching him down. If he gets clinched up and taken down, survive, get back to the feet, rinse and repeat. Because Pantoja goes so hard at you, there are moments in his fights that he slows down a lot. But he does not milt, he coasts. He takes his time, he catches his breath, he just survives and then goes at you again. Those are going to be the moments that Erceg really needs to try to put the pressure on and land big shots. But that's the huge question. Can Erceg survive the grappling exchanges? I mean, we just don't know. There were moments in Steve's fight with Costa where he would turtle without getting the underhook to try to get back up, which I'm telling you is a death sentence against a guy like Pantoja. But the thing you gotta remember is Pantoja's game, it's not super multi-layered. Erceg and his team know what he's gonna do. Their entire camp is gonna be dedicated to maintaining distance, landing their right hand, and doing anything they possibly can to avoid giving up his back. The question is, can Erceg execute? Overall, I am leaning on Steve to win, but it's a bit of a shot in the dark. So it will not be going on my parlay. So this is a parlay I feel very confident about. $25 to win 600, but it is a 9-fight parlay. So the risk of something fluky happening, it's out there. Some of these fights are a bit closer than others. You may or may not want to take Prehistoric Predator off. That might be the closest fight on the parlay. Elves Brener is really, really good. But other than that, I can say I am very confident in this one.